is Dominic, wedding DJ.
And this is Serena, wedding planner.
And together we are the Wedding Duo. We are here to talk all things weddings.
Planning a wedding can be stressful, but we are here to help.
So before you say, that's it, we're going to Vegas, don't go to Vegas.
Let's have some fun.
Join us as we answer your wedding questions and help navigate planning one of the biggest days of your life with the Wedding Duo.
And here we are, another episode. Woohoo! And it's not just the two of us. Again, you guys, we have another guest today, and we are pumped for this. And the reason we're so excited is because this is something, well, not only the topic, but our guest is going to help us talk a little bit about researching your vendors, but also we had the chance to speak at her summit. So I will first let her introduce herself and talk a little bit about that.
We like to speak.
I totally get it. So I am Heidi Thompson. My business is called Evolve Your Wedding Business, and I work with all sorts of different wedding professionals to help them attract more of their ideal clients, book more weddings, and build businesses that give them freedom and flexibility as well. So that's my entire focus has been for the past 12 years. And your lovely hosts are speaking at my upcoming summit, Book More Wedding Summit. I'm very excited to have you both.
Yay!
We're thrilled to have you on as well.
Our topic for the summit, just so you guys know that you're listening out there, is about social media. So harnessing the power of short form video content. And I know you've got a lot of other speakers talking on a multitude of topics. Today, for our episode, we're going to kind of tune in to Heidi's expertise on marketing and what couples should be looking for, how they're being marketed to, that kind of a thing. We're just going to kind of discuss, if you're researching vendors, where do you go and what do you look for? And so I'd like to start that part of the conversation, Heidi. Like, what are the most popular ways people are marketing to couples nowadays?
I definitely see a lot of people putting a lot of emphasis on social media, sometimes too much. At the detriment of other things, but using SEO, so getting found in Google organic search. There are some people that are running, Facebook ads, Google ads, TikTok ads, Instagram ads, you name it. But there are a lot of different ways that people are trying to reach couples, but also reach the right couples. And what I'm definitely seeing more and more and more in the industry is people having more of a focus of, okay, this is what I want to be known for. This is who I want to do this thing for, which as a couple can actually make your research a lot easier. If you have someone that's like, hi, I'm your person. I specialize in exactly that thing you want.
Well, let's just take a step back and just say that not all vendors are equal. And what I mean by that is not even experience or expertise, but there are a lot of people in the wedding world that have a 9-to-5, and then the weekends is when most people do their weddings. So this is their side hustle, their part-time thing. It's maybe their passion. And that's going to be different than someone like us that it's like, good Lord, 24/7, 7 days a week. Weddings are on the weekend, but during the week, this is what we do, like full time. So that's for you. I'm sure that's different when you ask a vendor and say, dude, you got to be doing more of this. And they're like, when? I like when, right? And that probably will affect their response time and maybe their pricing maybe, but it's just but you may still have a fantastic photographer, but they just, they work at a bank Monday through Friday. I don't know.
Yeah. And I think sometimes like wedding professionals feel like, oh, I'm not legit if that's the case. But man, I've worked with so many people that have such interesting careers in other areas, but also have this career, like you said, as a photographer or as a dress designer. Like I worked with someone she worked in one of the intelligence agencies.
Really?
She was like, I'm not leaving this job. I love this job.
Yeah.
But I also love planning, or I love creating stationery, like whatever the case may be. So that is like very normal in our industry. So if you're doing research, I wouldn't be shocked if you find that.
Right, for sure. That's
And
I started that way. For
yeah,
sure.
and it's definitely kind of how everyone starts out, right? And so we don't look at it as a negative. And I do want to pull from something you kind of mentioned about the overemphasis on social media, right? Like I know I heard that, right? No, don't point at us. What what do you see when it comes to like the image that people are trying to portray, like wedding vendors, right? Like what do you think that that does to the reality of like their services, like what they're actually providing?
That's a really good question. And I think sometimes, just like how we're all influenced by social media to like show up a certain way that maybe isn't the most realistic in the world, businesses fall for that too, because businesses are run by people. So you can see, maybe images that are like so ridiculously over the top that
Yeah.
it might kind of scare you away if you're researching and that's not exactly what you're looking for. But, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's all that person does. But I try to like really direct people to, okay, let's build your marketing around the person that you want to attract so that when they see it, they're like, this is my person. This is
Yes.
exactly who I've been looking for. And I think if you get that feeling off of someone, like that is gold. Run with
Yeah.
that. That's your person. But I would also keep in mind, like businesses are run by people, and people are all of our brains are mush from algorithms. And we get swayed to feel like we have to portray these things in a certain way. So I would look if you find someone and you're like, I like this person, but some of their images, I don't know. Like, go look at their website. Go look at other places where maybe that aesthetic isn't going to be as over dramatic, and
Right.
see actually like, okay, what are their weddings actually like? What do they look like? What's in their portfolio?
Well, that's a great point because there's sometimes people are like, "Oh my gosh, this one wedding is coming up. I'm gonna go all in on all my pictures and everything I post is from that wedding because it was a really high end one." But most people out there planning their wedding, not everybody has Daddy Warbucks writing checks, right? So most couples are trying to navigate between the vision and the budget, right? And it kind of like, but even with us, sometimes like I try to be cautious or cognizant of whatever's behind me or in the picture if I'm doing videos. But like we've done plenty of videos. They flew us to Colorado as the planner and the DJ, and we were in the church gym. Like we moved basketball hoops out of the way to set up for the ceremony. I'm like, yeah, because that they just really were focused on the planner and the DJ, which I thought they were super smart. First of all, let's just get that out there. But yeah, you to your point, like you shouldn't just, I don't know. I mean, I can see if you're like, wow, there's something maybe in the background that you didn't want, but it's real. It's like we always say we try to come across as being genuine. It's totally fake. We're not, but but it's like really that genuine thing, like to get the real person. That's I think translates.
Yeah, and I think especially in the wedding industry, like the people you hire, you are going to be working a lot with and quite
Mhm.
intimately with, and you need to be able to communicate well with. So keeping that in mind, if you find someone and you love their work, but like you meet with them and you hate the person, like
Yeah.
that's the person you're going to be working with. So it's pretty important that you at least, kind of gel in some ways.
Yeah. And
Especially the people you're gonna say that are in the
I was
bubble.
gonna say the same
Yeah,
thing, yeah,
go ahead.
so and there's kind of a spectrum there, right? Like, your cake baker, maybe if they're a little abrasive, like, it doesn't matter nearly as much because 'cause they're just behind the scenes baking the cake, but the planner, the photographer, those people that are on the ground with you on wedding day,
In
you
your bubble,
in
like
your
right there.
bubble,
Yeah,
you don't wanna be like, "Oh god, get away," like,
Yeah.
like, whatever that feeling is, that icky feeling, and so, those are some red flags, and the other one is communication, right? Like you said, if they don't get back to you, if they're adding stress to your planning process by, like, not answering your questions or, something they say doesn't, like, fall well with you, like, that is a red flag also, I would feel.
Oh, I totally agree. Communication especially when you're putting any sort of event together, is the most important thing, because everybody needs to be on, the same wavelength and know what's going on. So I think it's important to look at not just what they say, but what they do. So if they say,
Mhm.
if you get an auto response from someone that says they're going to get back to you in a certain amount of time, do they?
Right.
Because a lot of us say we're going to do things, like all of us, I'm sure most of us this week have said we're going to do something that we're already like, yeah, I'm not doing that.
Right.
So, pay attention to what they actually do. And it's not that, I think most of us have pretty normal expectations. We're not expecting someone to like get out of bed at 2 a.m. and respond to our emails. But just knowing, and if they aren't giving you a time frame, asking, because
Yeah.
I think so much conflict and anxiety comes from uncertainty.
Mm.
So if they're not giving it to you, don't be afraid to ask for it. Let them know, like, okay, when will we get this thing done? When will I hear back from you on this? Just because that level of certainty is going to lower your stress levels.
The good thing is weddings aren't really stressful. So, yeah, you're not
Please.
really at it. They're so calm already. But
Yeah, no.
I heard all the brides out there like, no, that's not true.
Something I wanted to ask you about, Heidi, that we touched on in our presentation for your summit, and I wanted to get your kind of opinion on this, is where couples are going to find their vendors these days, right? Like, it used to be, I feel like everyone would kind of search Google. That was like it for a while. But now do you see, or do you have any like research on them using social media as more like search engines, right? Like for their vendors? Is that a thing?
Or do you push them to the knot and wedding wire, that kind of a direction too?
It really depends on the person. It depends on the market. It depends on like what's popular in your location. But I think largely people are becoming aware in that like early stage of search through social media a lot of the time. And then
Mm.
maybe start following that person. And then maybe, 4 months later, you reach out to them. So it's kind
Yeah.
of hard to connect the dots there. But there's a lot of discovery that happens there for sure. I think a lot of people write off just straight up search, but there is data that shows that really the more someone spends on a wedding, like the higher end it is, the more like straight up Google searching, procuring exactly what you're looking for really does happen. We see a lot in the industry through referrals, but what I'm also seeing is that referrals have kind of moved to like oh, okay, well, this person said I should work with you, so I'm going to work with you, to a refer and then verify.
Mm.
So, someone recommends
Mhm.
someone and you say, oh, okay. And then you do your research on that person.
Yeah.
So that research component definitely happens more than used to, which is interesting to me because I've always been a researcher, but I guess that's just, I don't know, maybe that's just me.
Well, to your point, everybody is different. Everybody's going to have their go-to direction that they're going to go to search, whether it's even within social media. Maybe they like Facebook, TikTok, Instagram.
Mhm.
Maybe they go Pinterest. Maybe they read blogs. Whatever they do. The podcast. I mean,
Yeah.
people are podcasters. When I always talk to a bride, and it's the first time I've talked to her, I'm like, "How did you find us?" And they go, "Oh, well, it was on one of the social medias." They go, "Oh, we found your podcast." I'm like, "Oh yeah, the podcast." Like it's because some people are podcasters. That's just their
Yep.
thing. They drive, they listen, whatever. My sister-in-law, I found out, listens. I'm like, "You've been married for 20 years." She goes, "Yeah, Kelly just puts it on." Hi, Kelly, if you're listening.
She listens to ours?
Yes, I
Oh,
know.
that's nice.
But the other thing, I think people automatically know, like when people think vendors, they think photographer, florist, caterer, baker, DJ, planner. But then there's the other people that I think sometimes get brought in on social media, because I can't tell you, if I show up at a wedding and I see the alpacas there, people don't think like, okay, we're getting married, we're engaged, let's find the alpacas that dress up like a bride and groom that we want for a photo op. Or the cotton candy machine, or maybe a photo booth, right? That's not as obscure, but I've seen baby goats, beer burrows. We have So on social media, people follow us because we put out content and we're a planner and a DJ. But I love sharing all that other stuff. So those are the other vendors that are a little bit more, I don't know, downstream, I guess. Like not the heavy hitters. Everybody, like, I mean, photographer is probably the one. Even if you just get married on the beach, it's just you and 4 friends. There's a good chance there's going to be, if any vendors there, photographers there,
Right.
but probably not the alpacas. I don't know.
Maybe the alpacas go to the beach. They could.
It's interesting too, because I think it is really important to prioritize the things you care about. So, I mean, there's the things you probably feel like you should care about, but what do you actually care about? Like, are you looking to have like a really fun, interesting, different guest experience?
Yeah.
Okay, then you're going to prioritize more things actually at the event as opposed to, maybe some other pieces that you don't care about as much. And there's nothing wrong with that. Everyone just has different preferences and, what they want to include in their wedding. And I think approaching it from that perspective of like these couple are like the most important to me. It's really important in terms of your research, but in terms of when you decide to reach out to them, because we're also seeing in the industry the time between when someone discovers a vendor they want to work with and to where they actually reach out to where they are actually booking has gotten longer. The problem with that for couples is if you are waiting longer, you are also putting yourself in a position where the person you really wanted isn't going to be available.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah, because we work around availability, right? And especially if you're a one-man show, like you're a vendor that it's just you, right? That you're a photographer and it's just your name. You don't have any associate photographers. You can only do one wedding a Saturday. So that really narrows down, and limits your ability to service those couples. And so that's such a good point.
Except the officiants. That drives me crazy where they're like, well, I had 2 before you. I go, dude, we're supposed to start in 5 minutes. I got to put a mic on you. And then here they come driving down the road. I'm like, here they come. Hurry up. I don't know why they think like, well, I'm only there like 20 minutes.
That's
Yeah,
not
but you gotta get all the way across
officiants.
town. It's been a lot lately. I don't know. Not
Well,
all officiants. Some of you are fantastic.
Let's
But
have them be on time. Yes.
it was a weird tangent.
He likes the tangents. If you
But
haven't
wait, I want to
noticed,
finish my other
Heidi.
tangent real quick about the alpacas. You'll love this, Heidi. So there was a boy and a girl, supposedly. There was a bride and a groom. There was a black one who had a little top hat and a bow tie, right? So cute. Then there was a white one that had a veil and a garter on his leg. I mean, come on. And I said his leg because it was also a boy. They were both boys. And I could just imagine if they were communicating. He was like, why I got to be the bride? Like, dude, your DNA, you're the white one. You have to be the bride. Bride's in the white. He's like, oh, that's the thing. I got to wear a garter and a veil. Like, that's what goes on in my head is the conversation that probably happened. There you go. I wanted to
How do
finish the
we keep on
alpaca
track
story.
on any of our
Alpaca.
episodes?
That's a fun story.
I genuinely love that. That sounds adorable.
It's pretty fun. I have a question. What do you think nowadays? Enlighten us a little bit on reviews, right? Like how much are couples or vendors like worried about reviews, emphasizing reviews? It's a thing.
I think they're more important than they've ever been. Because we're definitely seeing younger millennials and Gen Z are definitely big into like double checking, crossing their eyes or crossing their T's, dotting their I's, and making sure like, okay, is this legit? Am I going to get what I want out of this? Like, what were other people's experiences? And you really can't be surprised by it. I mean, we all do it on a daily basis. Like, it's ridiculous how much time we spend like looking at reviews on like a vacuum cleaner on Amazon. Like, I don't know, this person said so, I'm gonna get the other one. Like, we've all made decisions like that, and so I think it's just kind of built into the way that we work, that we want to go through the reviews for a sense of security that this person is going to deliver on, what they promise. It's going to be a great experience. So they're really important for vendors. I know it's very easy to forget, to be like, oh yeah, I'll go back and ask. It's one of those things that we always have to stay on top of.
Mhm.
But for couples, it is so, so, so important. And to be able to easily find them, I think some good cross pollination is important. Like if you have all of your reviews in one place, that means that if someone finds you somewhere else, they're going to see 0 reviews.
0, yeah.
So, I personally think Google reviews are kind of king because they're what show up when someone searches your business name.
And the stars.
Yeah. But, if you know that a lot of people in your area go through Wedding Wire or The Knot, or your person does, I think it's fine to emphasize that, but I think it's important not to neglect the other places, because it can look like, oh, like, are they even in business?
Yes.
For sure.
Such
and
a
how
good
much do
point.
they do? Because
Yeah.
I think the thing we haven't really touched on is how much does a vendor cost? And you're going to see a range for sure, but you'll see that, if you see, oh my gosh, there's like 35-star reviews going back all these years.
Right.
Yeah, they've been doing it a while, maybe there's somebody else that has 2 or 3, they're less expensive. They could be the best photographer ever, but they're just coming out of the gates, or they're just starting to get some traction. So for those of you out there looking and you're wondering like, why is it such a disparity between these vendors in the same category? Maybe photographers, we talked about, if they bring a second shooter to every event as opposed to you just one, right? Well, second shooter, that's twice as many pictures, twice as many angles, but it's going to be more expensive. But if you don't know that going in, like, you're just it's not apples to apples if there's 2 shooters and then all the things.
Right. All the things. And so, you know what I don't think we've ever talked about on a podcast?
Nothing.
No, actually, we've talked about a lot of stuff.
We just covered that one.
What
Check
if
the alpaca.
a couple comes to a Google page of a business, right? A vendor, and there's a bad review, right? Like, and what does that do to the vendor? Like, it's terrifying on the vendor side of things, because you worry so much, you put so much effort, you care so much, and
Well, as a consumer, you read the bad one. Like, if all the
yes,
good ones and one bad one, that's the one you hone in on. And how many good ones does it take to offset that bad one, right?
right. So do you think that that's, like, to his point, like, that's what people are doing, consumers, like, they're looking for the negative? Yeah.
Part of it, but I think a lot of people can, like, take it with a grain of salt. Unless, like, here's a super detailed everything this person did to destroy my life, like,
Yes.
then yeah, that's going to be a super harmful review. But it's funny, I was just talking to my husband about this yesterday. We went to this brewery, and they're called Black Plague. They're like very skeletons and death themed.
Nice.
They have a burger place, and they draw their condiments in pentagrams because it's on theme.
Oh, wow.
There was someone that left a review that we saw on this brewery that was like children should not be eating these burgers that are of Satan. And it's like, okay, I can clearly take this one with like the biggest grain of salt in the
Good
world.
example.
That
Yeah.
is a good example.
Yeah.
Like, does it have anything to do with, like, the actual food or service, or right?
Right.
Like, it's totally just an opinion, which is
Yeah.
fine. People can have opinions. That's great. But
My one non-5-star review, I remember so clearly. Somebody put 3 stars and all it said was, good playlist. I'm like, what?
Yeah,
What?
that kind of stuff. When you
What
see
is that?
that and you see it on Amazon, and it's like, I'm just gonna throw that out from my consideration pool,
Well,
because like,
yeah. And I was like, were you a guest? I mean, usually you see review, and if a bride is going to go to the trouble to write a review, they're just gushing. It's multiple paragraphs.
right.
So that one didn't fit at all. But I'm like, you and your 3 stars.
And that, I don't even know that was for you. It was for
Oh,
our
no, it was
company.
me.
How
It
do
was
you
me.
remember
Oh, I
that?
remember it so clearly. It's like seared because I was so
in the
mad. I was
many
like,
years?
what? You went to the effort to find, I mean, I don't know. I thought it
Yeah.
was like a bot or a competitor. I go, but anyway, That one's stuck in my crown.
Obviously.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah. I think especially nowadays, like people know that like some people are just real weird and they're gonna
Yeah.
leave like weird, kind of confusing reviews on things, and you have to take it with a grain of salt.
Oh, I got a good follow-up if you're ready. I didn't mean to interrupt you. What do you tell your vendors if there is a review, good or bad? Do you have them reply or just let it go? That's a good one because we never know. I don't usually reply to them, but
I think it depends on the situation.
Okay.
I think it when I think about like local businesses that I see, like brick and mortar, hotels, things like that, I think it's good to see responses on those and like try to fix the situation, try to make it better. That's a bit harder with weddings, especially because it's like a one-time, thing you're being hired for. So you can't be like, oh, I'd love to give you credit for another night at our hotel,
Yeah.
Well, sometimes
so
a bee's nest and it just turns into a big old thing. And now it's back and forth, back and forth. You don't want that.
No.
But it'd be nice for you to have your side of it. If it was just a Karen that just went off on everything and you're like, I was doing everything and then one thing and we just didn't connect, or the personality conflict. I don't know. There's reasons, but if somebody just, well, you're going to get a review and then here we go. Do you really want to go down?
I think it also depends how it's handled. If you can clearly tell that like the business owner is like screaming at their screen as they're writing it, that's a problem.
All caps.
Like, if it's like, okay, like let's all be level-headed. Sorry that you feel this way about this. This is what we did in the moment to rectify it, like kind of setting the record straight. I think that's warranted.
Yeah. And I think it gives the vendor an opportunity to show their personality a little bit, or the way they handle stress and conflict, right? Like if they handle it appropriately, not all caps screaming exclamation point, because that
all caps,
that will only add to the person going, maybe I won't call this vendor, right? Because they're just went off.
Because it does, because your personality comes through on that as well, right?
And it's important.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like, how do you perform under pressure? Like, that's very important.
That's a wedding. That's a wedding, right? Like it is pressure.
So another thing that couples are always going to look at is your website. But like we said before, if there's somebody who it's just me, it's a part-time gig, websites, for those of you that don't know, are stinking expensive. And there's all the links, you got to check them. And then somebody will come back and say, hey, that link isn't working. And sometimes they don't tell you, something is misspelled. It's a lot of work and expense. So what do you tell the vendors that are like, I just can't afford to keep updating it? But you're like, yeah, but your website is awful, because that is bride deterrent. They will see a bad website and go somewhere else, right?
Yeah. I would say to the vendors, you don't have to spend a ton. I mean, you can, but you don't have to. You can start with a template and customize it. You can start with a template and have a designer customize it.
Right.
There are multiple ways to do it. I would say if you are not in it full time, like you don't need a completely custom. Most people don't need a completely custom, like from the ground coded website. Most of us are using tools that give you a starting point and allow you to go from there. I think usability, readability is really important, especially in our industry, man. Script fonts, those itty bitty script fonts, when they get shown on a phone, cannot make them out.
Yeah. And how about pricing transparency, right? Like
there's a good
information, like this generation of couples, for you guys out there listening, I get it. Like you want to be able to get your questions answered on the website, right? Like don't lead me to reach out and then schedule a call and I don't even know if I'm in the budget range.
Yeah.
That's not fair.
I'm a big proponent of pricing transparency. I teach people multiple different ways to do that, but most businesses can present that in some way or another. Some businesses you'll see present it as our average or our typical couple spends, or our price varies from X to Y. The truly difficult businesses to do this for, I always like to see still some sort of indication or an explanation, because as the consumer, you don't know that a floral designer can't give you any indication of price until they know more about what you want, because the cost of flowers varies so dramatically and varies by season. So, I mean, it's not your job to know that. They should be communicating that, because of this, we need to give you a customized quote, and here's how to get that. But
Yeah.
otherwise, I'm a big fan of pricing transparency. I don't blame anybody who, doesn't see any indication of price. And what I mean by indication is like a range, an average, something to give you like, what is the ballpark here?
Yes.
If you don't want to list out like every itty bitty price for different things, because that's overwhelming too.
Well, you gave a great example. Florist is definitely one. Like, you want calla lilies in the winter, we can get them, but we got to ship them in from Fiji. That's going to cost, right?
I don't even know if that's true.
Well,
what
I
you
don't know,
just said.
but I'm not a florist for sure.
Right.
But the other one is the caterers too. Like, they can't, it's like how many people, of course, but also, are you going to have surf and turf, or are you going to have chicken nuggets? Like, it's
right.
That's another
That's
one
a
that's like a
range,
range.
yeah.
For the DJ, for the photographer, for the planner, usually we can have packages. It's usually time, but also with us, like, do you want lighting? Do you want a monogram? There's
Yeah.
other things, but most people, I think, can just give you, like you said, like, here's a base, a starting point, and then maybe here's what we have it. So here's what the packages cost. Here's what our add-ons cost, because it's so much for the couple and for us. Like, are we close? If we're close, let's talk. If we're not even close, then you probably should find somebody that is, because
Right.
it's wasting
Yeah.
everybody's time.
Yeah, it's exactly that. Like, no one wants to get into that conversation.
Yes,
On
because
either
you feel
side.
bad. They feel bad. Everybody's like,
Well,
I'm sorry.
especially if they like fall in love with you, right? And then they're like, oh no, but
Yeah.
like it's way outside of the budget. And then there's the whole letdown of that. So, I mean, totally understandable. Tell us, Heidi, a little bit about the Book More Wedding Summit and like who it's for and like what people are talking about. I just want our listeners to know.
Yeah, so the Book More Wedding Summit is for all different types of wedding professionals, and we have attendees that join us from around the world, because it's a fully online conference that runs August 19th through the 23rd. And each day you're going to be able to learn from a huge variety of different educators on different topics. And really, the way I wanted to bring all of these topics together was, yes, around the central point of, okay, we want to book more weddings, we want to get more clients, obviously, but also keeping in mind the kind of weird position that we're in, being in an election year throws things off economically, like all of the inflation that we've had in previous years. There's just like a lot of funkiness in the economy and in decision making around spending money. So we have to adapt to that. So all of the presentations are really coming at that. How do I attract more of the people I love working with and book more of them in 34 different ways? So you'll be able to take, okay, no, I don't want to learn about this. This isn't for me. And okay, yeah, I'm really interested in this particular topic. I'm going to take something from that and, actually go apply it. So it's quite a buffet of different ways people can attract more of the people they love serving.
I love that. And we're there.
Yes.
Our video is there somewhere in the mix.
We're in there.
We are. And so if you're a vendor out there and you're listening to us, make sure you follow the link that's going to be in the description of this episode, or we're going to be posting about it on social media. So you can obviously get your ticket. Is it a ticket?
Yeah, and it's a free
ticket.
Yeah,
it's a free ticket. Yeah. So you can get that there. And I just wanted to kind of wrap up, our conversation with, what do you think the direction of like the wedding industry, like where is it going when it comes to like what couples are looking for and the industry as a whole, right?
Simple question like that.
Simple question.
Easy. Where's it going?
Well, I think people, as always, need to adapt. And especially because a large percent of the population that is currently getting married are Gen Z.
Mm-hmm.
So things that influence them, the things that are deal breakers for them are very important. And a lot of those are around communication, around not being able to get the information I want, not being able to get a response, not hearing back when they said, like, not people not following through, or them not being clear on the process and what's going to happen next. Like I said, that just breeds, anxiety and uncertainty and negativity when you don't know what's going to happen next. Like, there's a reason why when we order delivery, there's a little map showing us where it is, because otherwise we'd be like, did they get it? Is it coming?
Yes.
Am I going to get food?
Such a good point.
And then that's why they take a picture after they drop it off too, right? Because they're like,
Yeah.
hey,
Accountability.
I put it there.
Yeah.
For those of you out there that are trying to contact a vendor, that doesn't mean jumping on the comment on a video on TikTok that has 500 comments and saying, hey, give me a call. I'm like, we that might get lost in the shuffle. So you need to like reach out directly through an email or something else. Just commenting on a video and you're like, second request. Like, I didn't even see your first request. Like, is your second? You're just like,
I don't know that that's a normal happening for people.
Are you kidding me? You see our comments. There's some people that are like,
about videos that we.
No, I'm saying if you're a bride and
okay.
you're trying to
Explain it better.
contact a vendor and then you're mad and you're like, well, that photographer never got back to me. Like, wait, you reached out on a TikTok, like, and commented on a video. So he or she may not have seen that. So if you're really like, oh my gosh, this person, I love them, I really want to reach out to them, you can ask like, what's your, but do some research, find their
website.
They may have a link on their For You page or whatever on their homepage. Like, reach out more directly than just commenting on a video, because sometimes that's not always, we don't go back and check that every single day, 24 hours a day.
Yeah, comments get buried for sure.
Absolutely.
I mean, a direct message over a comment is a million times better.
And even that isn't fair necessarily. I mean, it's fair in the sense that it'll get to the person eventually, right? But
can get buried though.
Like they can. Yes. And so I am always freaking out. I'm like paranoid that I'm going to miss like an inquiry or something. So I'm sifting through the comments. But I mean, it is a good point that if you're really interested, if you really want to schedule a call or whatever it is, probably email or, text if there's a phone number listed, something where you're getting in a direct contact with that person.
Yeah, that is really important. And I have seen a push more for people to make texting available, especially for, I think the gap that it fills that's really important is, I think I want to submit this inquiry form. I just have a question first.
Right.
And I would love to just, shoot you a text, ask you, like, do you work in this region? Like something, like, can you come out here? Before I go through the trouble of filling out this whole inquiry form, and I've probably filled out a million others that have a million form fields. So fewer form fields and more ease of access for those like pre-consultation questions, because none of us want to waste time on calls we don't need to be on. We've all been on those. They're not fun. No. So people want to be sure before they go into the process, which is actually great for you as a vendor, because they have more intention when they're coming into the process. Like, their mind is pretty much made up.
Yes.
My calls are fun. I enjoy the first call. I like enjoy getting to know them and chatting and I know, but not everybody is as chatty as me, I guess.
You just enjoy talking in general. I mean, you talk for a living.
People hearing the story. How'd you meet? What's the plans? What's your first dance? All the stuff. I enjoy that part.
Still, so many calls later.
All these calls later.
Yeah, there's been a lot. So, Heidi, is there anything else you want to share with our listeners? Wrap it up for us. Where can they find all the things, right? The Book More Wedding Summit, you.
Yeah, so we've got your link to Book More Wedding Summit. You can go to bookmorewedingsummit.com. My website is evolveyourweddingbusiness.com. That's where you can find everything that I do for wedding professionals. And I am probably most active on Instagram. So if you want to shoot me a DM, ask me a question, I am more than happy to answer that for you. I'm Evolve Your Wedding Business over there.
There you go. That's exactly, we just talked about it.
Yeah.
She will
actually get back to you, where you won't. Okay, guys, so we're going to wrap it up. I hope you will check out Book More Wedding Summit. Get your free ticket. Just a few things to mention. We are getting closer to opening our membership live. If you guys want to become an early access member, you can find links on pretty much everywhere, our social pages, our website, all that good stuff. Reach out to us.
The playlists are coming.
The playlists are coming, y'all. We're going to have links to playlists. It's going to be fantastic. So if you need to get a hold of us, it is hello@theweddingduo.co, not .com, .co. And our website is theweddingduo.co.
We could have talked 30 minutes on just, what do you think about the .co versus .com versus .net? Another whole thing. You know how much money they wanted for weddingduo.com?
$10,000.
Yes, I'm like, yeah. As if
no,
it's not expensive enough. Like, sorry, we're .co now. Thank you very much for playing.
All right, Heidi, we seal every podcast with a kiss. So Dominic's going to take us out, and then we're going to blow a kiss goodbye.
Are you ready? So it is, if ever there's a day that is all about you, this is it. It's your wedding day. Don't let somebody talk you into something you don't want to do or talk you out of something you have your heart set on. It's your day, do you.
Ready?
Here we go with the smooch.
Mwah.
Hey, so thanks for listening to our podcast. If you found any of this information helpful and you know someone who may be engaged or is a maid of honor, maybe you could tell them and share it with a friend.
Absolutely. So screenshot this episode, share it on Instagram, on Facebook, and tag The Wedding Duo. We promise to share the love back. Also, if you are interested in more resources or the show notes, you can go to theweddingduo.co. We have one-on-one virtual sessions, a shop, all sorts of fun stuff. Check it out.